What is your reaction to the announcement yesterday by the Labour Party in relation to this issue?
Well, the simple fact is the man who drafted the definition of anti-Semitism, an American lawyer who's Jewish himself, Kenneth Stern, he's actually admitted that the examples he added to it are a bit vaguely worded and they can be used to prevent freedom of speech. So Labour's just simply included a statement saying that that's not going to happen. And no one should have any worries about this at all. Anti-Semitism is about people who hate and loathe Jews. It's not about criticising the Israeli government's policy towards the Palestinians.
What do you think is Jeremy Corbyn's attitude towards Israel?
Oh, literally, like myself and many other people, and many Israelis have criticised the Israeli government because we're now 70 years on from the creation of the State of Israel, and we've still got millions of Palestinian refugees living in absolute squalor in Gaza and in refugee camps. And you've now got the most reactionary Israeli government of my lifetime passing laws that actually undermine the rights of Arabs living in Israel.
Of course, this is all about, there has to be allowed, particularly within the Labour Party, legitimate criticism of Israel. The problem is when that overspills into an anti-Semitism or the criticism of Israel's right to exist, or the suggestion that the existence of Israel in itself is a racist endeavour. Do you believe that Israel has a right to exist, or do you believe there are people within the party who think that it shouldn't and that it is a racist endeavour?
Well, back in 70 years ago, when Palestine was partitioned into Jewish and Arab areas, the Labour government at the time didn't support this because it warned, our Foreign Secretary warned, it would lead to insecurity and violence. And 70 years on, we've still got suicide bombers, we occasionally have wars. It's been a problem, but it's there. And what I want to see is the creation of a genuine Palestinian state in the areas that Israel occupied in 1967. But the simple fact is, just before I resigned from the Labour Party, a senior official said they'd found about 50 Labour Party members had tweeted something anti-Semitic. That's 1 out of every 10,000. People who hate Jews or blacks or homosexuals are never going to join the Labour Party because we have always been defending the rights of people like that.
You left the Labour Party because of this huge furore over what you said about Hitler and Zionism. Do you accept, Ken Livingstone, that the kind of thing that you said on air, it lends succour to those who say, well, look at these guys in the Labour Party, they're so casual with their language that they make Jewish people feel that they're not on their side at all?
Well, when I was suspended from the Labour Party, it was because the Labour MP, John Mann, was saying that I'd said Hitler was a Zionist. 2 years and 4 months later, I'm still reading articles that say I'd said Hitler was a Zionist. And in all these 2 years and 4 months, no journalist has ever phoned me to ask what I actually said.
Well,
what did you say? What did you say?
What I said was that in the 1930s, Hitler supported Zionism, not because he liked the German Jews, but the German Zionist movement signed an agreement with Hitler because they wanted all Germany's Jews to go and live in Palestine and create a Jewish state, and Hitler wanted them all out. Now, in the 2 weeks after my suspension, somewhere between 30 or 40 people came up to me on the street saying, look, I'm Jewish, I know what you said is true, don't give in to these bullies.
But do you not understand, Ken, that when you say...
don't these MPs read history?
You're dealing in verbal semantics, because when you say Hitler supported Zionism, it's not a massive reach for listeners who are hearing you say that to believe that you think Hitler was some kind of Zionist, is it?
The simple fact is the German Zionists had to deal with the government that was in power. They didn't like it, they feared it, but it was there. But that doesn't mean to say
when you say Ken, when you say Hitler supported Zionism, if I'm a British Jew listening to a senior Labour politician as you were at the time saying that, I'm going, hang on a second. What do you mean he supported Zionism? He exterminated 6 million Jews. And when you try and say, well, when I say he supported Zionism, I don't mean he's a Zionist. It's a bit like saying to me, Piers, I know you support Arsenal, but I'm not saying that you're actually an Arsenal fan. The difference is so minuscule that I would argue that you've managed to try and construct a way out of this. It says, I didn't mean what I said. Actually, you did. You said Hitler supported Zionism. It's pretty clear what you said.
Yes. And what you should do is get Francis Nicosa, who's the Professor of Holocaust Studies at the University of Vermont, on your programme. He's been researching the Holocaust and writing about it for over 40 years. His latest book talks about the overwhelming support in the Nazi government and the Nazi Party for German Zionists, because the German Nazis wanted a country free of Jews. The German Zionists wanted all those Jews to go and live and create a Jewish state in Palestine.
So just to clarify,
didn't mean say they liked each other.
Yeah, do you stand by, then, what you said? Do you stand by saying Hitler supported Zionism?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you go and study the history...
Why did you resign then? Why did you resign and why did you apologise?
We had... Well, I haven't apologised for stating the truth. I never said Hitler was a Zionist. If I had, I wouldn't just have apologised. I'd been off to the doctor to check it wasn't the sign that I was in the first stage of dementia. How can anyone say a man who loathed Jews all his life was a Zionist? The simple fact is, it was lie after lie all over the media. And as I said, no journalist has ever phoned me
I made a
to check what
historical
I said.
argument. You said, when you resigned, you said, I recognise the way I made a historical argument has caused offence and upset in the Jewish community. I'm truly sorry for that. Why would you be truly sorry for something that you've just reiterated and stand by completely? I don't understand what you were apologising for or why you were truly sorry.
And over the last couple of years, several people have come up to me on the street and say, why did you say Hitler was a Zionist? I pointed out that was completely untrue. But this is the problem with fake news. It's not just that claims I said Hitler was a Zionist. There were also claims I said Jews were like Nazis. There was an article in the Jewish Chronicle the following week saying I said it wasn't anti-Semitic to hate the Jews of Israel. Nobody has ever found a shred of evidence I've said any of this nonsense. I mean, the 8 years I was Mayor of London, anti-Semitic incidents in this city were cut by 50% because I practised and promoted tolerance between different faiths, different races. Then when Boris got in, he just promoted himself and anti-Semitic incidents soared.
Ken, just to clarify, I don't understand why, if you're so emphatic that nothing you said was wrong, why were you truly sorry for the offence and upset you caused? I don't understand why you would apologise and why you would resign from the party.
Well, I resigned now because this was being dragged out by the old Blairites who were still running the Labour Party at that time, and it was being used to damage Jeremy. And this, I've been retired for the last 6 years, and I just thought, walk away from it. Don't let it go on and on and on. The trouble is then a whole load of other completely untrue smears have been raked up against the Labour Party since then. Simple fact is, if you're opposed to any form of racism, get in the Labour Party, because if we get Jeremy Corbyn into Downing Street, anti-Semitic incidents, homophobia, racism in this country will go down under his administration just as they did under mine.
Unfortunately, Ken Livingstone, the evidence does not suggest that. We've had Rabbi Sachs saying that people are considering leaving the country. The Jewish community, many of the Jewish community, do not feel it would be a safer place if Jeremy Corbyn was Prime Minister. Do you not acknowledge that comparing Hitler and Nazism with Zionism, suggesting that the establishment of a Jewish state of Israel might have been something supported by Hitler, can you not see that that is extremely offensive to Jewish people and may lead to anti-Semitism?
Well, if you'd been with me in those weeks after my suspension, you could have listened to the Jewish people stopping me on the street saying, we know what you said is true, don't give in to all this bullying. The simple fact is, Jews are very well educated, they know about their history, they know that back in 1933, Hitler signed an agreement with the German Zionists, and that was carried on being
so just to
led
establish,
to
are you sorry
60,000
for the
German
comments
Jews
or
going
not?
to live in Palestine.
Are you sorry for the comments or not?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for any Jewish person who's upset by all these allegations and smears. But as I say, those Jewish people who checked the facts realise what I said was true. I never said Hitler was a Zionist.
Are you sorry to the Evening Standard reporter Oliver Feingold, who you compared to a German war criminal after he approached you at City Hall at a party?
No, he was chasing me along the street at 9 o'clock at night, demanding I answer his questions. And all the Evening Standard was doing then was getting ready to write something rather unpleasant about the fact, for the first time, I'd held a reception for lesbians and gays at City Hall. They demanded they should be able to come in. I wasn't going to have them in, but I knew they would write
after he told you he was Jewish, after he was told you he was Jewish and found the remark "German war criminal" offensive, you then said he was like a concentration camp guard, and you were, as a result, you were suspended for 4 weeks, right? Is that right?
I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
I didn't say that after. I didn't say that after he had told me he was Jewish. And although you say I was suspended, I took that case to the High Court and the judge struck it down. His opening statement
Did you call this Jewish reporter a concentration camp guard?
No. What happened was he was running along chasing me saying, I'm only doing my job. And I said, well, that's what concentration camp guards said at the end of the Second World War. Then he said he was Jewish. How can I tell a reporter he's Jewish?
Right. Do you think that accusations of anti-Semitism against Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party are part of a conspiracy?
Absolutely, because the establishment, the great corporations, the super rich, launder all their money overseas. They don't pay tax. They're terrified that a Jeremy Corbyn government will make them pay their fair share of tax. And so we'll move on from anti-Semitism. There'll be other smears. Don't forget, back in the summer, you were being told that Jeremy Corbyn, myself and John McDonnell had been taking money from a communist Czech spy. It was just unbelievable. And literally, anything will be done by the establishment to stop Jeremy winning the election.
So this is about global economic interests generating some kind of conspiracy around anti-Semitism to smear Corbyn and the Labour Party. That's got weird overtones, hasn't it?
This has happened. Well, no, go back and check history. In 1933, when President Roosevelt introduced benefits for the unemployed, the right-wing press was screaming this was the first step towards communism. The day I became the leader of the Greater London Council, back in 1981, Mrs. Thatcher made a speech saying, my plan was to impose on Britain a communist tyranny like those in Eastern Europe. Literally, any genuine person on the left who is there to actually make a better world for ordinary people gets subject to these sorts of smears and lies.
OK, final question, Ken Livingstone. Do you still believe Hitler supported Zionism?
Well, of course, you just need to go and read the books written by Jewish historians.
No. We don't need to go over that again. But just to clarify, so there's no doubt, you still absolutely believe Hitler supported Zionism.
It's not just me. You go and
I'm asking you. I'm only asking you, Ken. I'm only asking you whether you do.
Well, and I'm giving you an answer whether you want to hear it or not.
I've heard the answer. I just don't see the difference between saying... I don't understand why, if you say Hitler supported Zionism, you're not implying he was a Zionist.
You'll know what I'm saying.
Well, I just don't see the difference.
And, of course, there's a real difference. Well, in that case, you obviously didn't get a very good education. There's a real difference.
I didn't get a good education.
Zionism
I tell you, I was educated well enough not...
Listen,
I was educated well enough not to bang on about Hitler being a supporter of Zionism.
Let me tell you what you should do. Let me answer your question and stop interrupting me. The simple fact is, if you go on Jerusalem's Holocaust Memorial website, one of the papers you can download is about the deal that was done by the Zionists and the Germans and 6 years of support that then they got from his government.
But I asked you a very specific question, Ken, which is the one that you later said you were... The one you said you were later truly sorry for the offence it caused. I just simply said, do you stand by the simple statement, Hitler supported Zionism? And you've said yes, right?
Of course.
OK.
He signed an agreement.
OK.
He actually sold them arms for the underground army in
So Hitler supported
Israel.
Zionism, but he wasn't a Zionist?
And there's no anti-Semitism in the Labour Party. It's simply a global economic conspiracy.
OK.
I told you, we found about 50 individuals who've tweeted something anti-Semitic. That's 1 out of every 10,000 members. And now with our new General Secretary, anyone who says anything anti-Semitic will be expelled.